Hi everyone. For my research paper, I chose Cantey Technology, which is an IT business located in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. My paper is titled Cantey Technology: Overcoming Crisis with a BCP. A brief overview or an abstract of what my paper is comprised of. It provides in-depth research on BCPs and highlights a particular business, Cantey Technology, who overcame a crisis using a BCP when a lightning strike actually caused a large fire at their Mount Pleasant, South Carolina location in 2013. I discussed the importance of having a BCP, the key elements in a BCP, and why some businesses might use a business continuity plan and disaster recovery plan interchangeably and why that is incorrect. I highlight how Cantey Technology was prepared and survived the disaster, which is debilitating for a lot of businesses, by having a strong backup storage site and an alternate location, which was developed from a 5-year running BCP developed by the company's co-founder, Willis Cantey. A brief background on Cantey Technology and what their business is. Cantey Technology was comprised of 17 employees at the time of the disaster. It's an IT company founded in 2007 by co-founders, husband and wife, Willis and Suzanne Cantey. In this paper, to start off, I start to talk about how it is vital for any organization, small or large, to have a BCP in place before disaster strikes. In a quote here, it says that, according to a report from FEMA, 40% of businesses do not reopen following a disaster. On top of that, another 25% fail within 1 year. And that is from an article titled 40% of businesses fail to reopen after a disaster. And just as bad as that is confusing a BCP with a disaster recovery plan, which can have the same effects. So a little bit more about Cantey Technology's BCP and how they were able to overcome the fire that caused so much damage at their Mount Pleasant, South Carolina location. What saved the company was the BCP plan that Cantey had started 5 years prior to the disaster. Very important for any company, backup servers and remote data centers are critical in the event that a site location could be unusable for any reason. Why Cantey Technology was so successful is because Willis Cantey moved all client servers to remote locations and scheduled constant backups for the data stored by the company. Prior to the fire, the data for the company was kept at an off-site location, also in South Carolina, where it remained after the fire. Cantey also used this location for conferences and meetings in the aftermath of the fire, while the disaster site was unusual, which is another critical element of a BCP, is having an alternate location for employees to get back to work, or a meeting place for employees to discuss how they're going to carry on after or in the wake of a disaster. So overall, I think that the main takeaway from this story is that it is better to be prepared and take the time and resources to implement a strong BCP to prevent being part of the large statistic of businesses that are forced to shut their doors after disaster strikes. Cantey Technology was so successful because of their business continuity plan. They had off-site storage options, and that resulted in actually 0 of their 200 clients noticing anything during the fire. They weren't even aware that they were actually having a fire. Cantey Technology had 2 major elements in their BCP that ultimately led to their quick resilience. This included 1, having off-site location for client data storage, which kept their data unscathed and uninterrupted by the fire, and 2, having an alternate location in which they could use to continue daily operations in a place where employees could temporarily work until the disaster site was recovered. Obviously, a big message here is that BCPs are going to vary from organization to organization, but no matter what type of services, no matter how small or large the business is, it is important to have some type of BCP plan in place before disaster strikes. And this is why Cantey Technology was so successful and was able to overcome the business without even, they could have not even mentioned this to any of their clients that a fire had even occurred because none of them noticed in the first place. It is important to remember that disasters can take many forms, whether it's internal theft of customer information by an employee or an external natural disaster like that of the lightning strike that Cantey Technology endured. Location, employee and vendor information, risks, operations, finances, those should all be included in a successful business continuity plan. And if anything, Cantey Technology is a great example of why it is so critically important to have one in place before disaster strikes.